Hey guys, this is Austin. Put the Pixel 3 side by side with last year's model and you'll find something that looks a lot like a Pixel 2.5, at least until you look at the display, which is slightly style challenged thanks to the giant notch. Look past the looks though, which is sometimes difficult, and you're going to find a truly excellent smartphone. There's no doubt that the Pixel 3 is a nice piece of hardware. It's an all aluminum and glass build with a few interesting touches. The rear has a two-tone finish. Again, it is all glass, but while on top it's glossy, the bottom is a much more matte finish, which not only matches the previous Pixels, but still feels really nice by adding a little bit of grip to the phone. Importantly, this also enables not only the IP68 water resistance, but importantly the brand new fast wireless charging on the Pixel 3. Which is all fine and great until you realize that, a slight drop onto concrete might shatter the entire back of your Pixel 3, specifically if a certain friend of yours borrows the phone to shoot some footage and the wind blows it onto the concrete.
You guys weren't supposed to tell him.
For real though, this dropped from like 3 feet and the entire back is shattered and even the front corner is shattered.
Yeah, I mean, I think it hit just right, but this is gonna crack either way. But yeah, it does scratch pretty easily here. So, fun fact, don't drop your Pixel 3 or the glass back will shatter and you'll have to ask Jerry-Rig Everything very kindly to fix your phone for you. Get a case at austinevans.com/pixelcases.
Great, I gotta make that a URL now. Something I appreciate is we have the same squeeze feature to access Google Assistant from last year. In my opinion, this is way more useful than say if a company were to put a hardware button on the phone, which can't be remapped and is only useful for a very useless voice utility feature, Bixby. Anyway, all you do is just squeeze it. What's the weather tomorrow?
Tomorrow in Claremont, it'll be sunny with a high of 85 and a low of 61.
It should be no surprise that the Pixel 3 only has a single USB-C port. There's no headphone jack to be found. But what's nice is that not only is there a pair of USB-C headphones in the box, but you also have the USB-C power cable, the fast charger, and importantly, a headphone jack adapter and a USB-A adapter. You know, like none of the things that Apple includes with the iPhone X, which is more expensive. So, yeah. The stereo speakers have returned, and while they're supposedly 40% louder, I've got to say, the Pixel 3 XL sounds noticeably better than the standard Pixel 3. Now, a big part of that, I think, is that this one seems to distort a little bit at higher volumes, whereas the XL sounds a lot richer and specifically doesn't do that same distortion. Now, mind you, neither of these phones are going to compare to something like the Razer Phone 2, but they sound pretty good, just the 3 XL is a lot better. It might be a small thing, but something I appreciate on the Pixel 3 is the smaller camera bump. When you lay it down flat on a table, it doesn't really rock as much, especially compared to the iPhone. The Pixel 2 had the best camera of last year and arguably this year as well, and it should be no surprise that the Pixel 3 steps it up even farther. One of the most impressive things here is not only just the dynamic range, but the overall color. Things look so good on this camera. And I don't think it's really an exaggeration to say that this makes every other smartphone camera look bad. Seriously, I mean, just look at some of this stuff. The portrait mode is also fantastic. Even though it doesn't have the telephoto lens to get that extra depth data, Google does such a good job of being able to isolate a subject and really pull it out of the background of a photo. I've said it before, I'll say it again, this camera is straight up awesome. And a lot of it really just does come down to the level of AI, machine learning, buzzwordery that really just makes this camera dope. I'm just gonna keep saying that because it's really good. While the Pixel 3 still has a single rear-facing camera, what it has new this year is a pair of front-facing shooters. A standard angle camera as well as a much wider angle, which is what, like 184% wider than the iPhone XS?
Yeah.
Did he almost like run in the back of me?
Yeah.
What's cool is that there's a zoom slider that will seamlessly move between the front-facing cameras, and when you go wide, it is really wide. So you know, when you want to take a photo with all your friends, you can get them all in the shot with the Pixel 3. Right, friends? Friends? Yeah, there we go. All my friends with my Pixel 3. It's great.
Take that, Wes.
This is what 4K video looks like straight off of the Pixel 3. So not only can you tell that there's a decent amount of dynamic range and pretty good stabilization, but on top of that, it has really good autofocus. So all you need to do is tap on a subject and it will track it around. So as I get closer or farther away from the camera, the focus should naturally follow. The only real downside here is that there is no 4K 60 support, unlike most other phones this year. But with all the processing that's been going on here, the Pixel 3 looks seriously dope as far as video is concerned. At the launch event, Google heavily focused on features like cloud computing, AI, machine learning, other cool buzzwords, but what they didn't talk too much about is performance, which actually is really solid. The Pixel 3 has very standard specs for 2018. You've got the Snapdragon 845, only 4 gigs of RAM as opposed to 6 or 8, and 64 or 128 gigs of with storage. If that sounds a bit underwhelming in a world where the much cheaper Poco phone has the same processor and more memory, then you aren't alone. At the press conference, I was kind of disappointed. The 845 has been around for quite a while at this point, and the next generation is definitely right around the corner. Now this is a complaint I've levied at other phones that have come out recently, including the Galaxy Note 9, but it's just as relevant here on the Pixel 3. This is a smartphone with specs that will be outdated very shortly. However, after about 10 seconds with the Pixel 3, my doubts quickly vanished. This thing is straight up fast. Now when you compare it to the OnePlus 6, which up until now has been the Android speed king, this is even faster and even smoother. Now that might not be a huge surprise considering that Google hopefully knows a thing or two about optimizing phones for Android. And to be fair, there are definitely some other advantages here, including not only is it running Android Pie right out of the box, they've got the animations nicely tuned, but the long story short here is that it is incredibly fast, it's incredibly smooth, and it's, well, maybe not the most outdated spec in the world because it works. With Android 9 Pie on board, you're getting a lot of nice little additions, but one of my favorites is the gesture navigation. Now I'll be honest, this is one of my favorite parts of using the iPhone 10 as it's really easy to move between apps, and it is almost as intuitive here on the Pixel. There are a lot of other smaller features, including some that will be coming to previous Pixel devices, but my favorite by far is call screen. The way this works is similar to Google Duplex, is if you get a call in and you don't want to answer it, you can just allow Google to screen the call and you get a live transcription. Oh look, Matt's calling. I'm going to screen it.
Hi, the person you're calling is using a screening service from Google and will get a copy of this conversation. Go ahead and say why you're calling.
Is Mr. Austin Evans happy with his long-distance provider?
Do you need to get a hold of them urgently?
Yes, this is very urgent.
Just so it's clear, go ahead and say more about why you're calling.
We have a really great deal on collect calls and really happy
They
to
can't
review.
talk right now,
Oh.
but they'll give you a call later. Thanks, and goodbye.
I love it. It even automatically hangs up. This is like the greatest thing ever. That's so cool.
So rude.
I'm never going to answer anyone's phone call ever again. Looking back, I think it's safe to say that the Pixel 2 has aged well, but it's hard to avoid the elephant in the room. While the Pixel 2 did pretty well, the Pixel 2 XL had some major screen issues. Not only did the XL have some color issues right out of the box when it was brand new, but it also had some fairly severe burn-in with those early units. Now to be fair, software has solved some of these problems and they've replaced most of the issues with the actual burn-in, but still, Pixel 2 XL screen, not too hot. Which brings us to the Pixel 3. So first of all, we have the standard Pixel 3, which does have a larger 5.5-inch display. Now this is, I believe, still an LG panel, but the gist of it is that while it is OLED, we don't have any of those same issues that we had last year. Color's very vibrant, it looks to be fairly accurate, and that also applies to the Pixel 3 XL. Of course, there's no overlooking the notch and the chin. Yeah, okay, look, I'm gonna be completely real with you. This is one of the ugliest phones I've seen in quite a while. Now, for some people, that's probably going to be no big deal. I mean, you know, you're looking at the screen, not what's around the screen. But I've never seen a notch I didn't like until I saw the screaming, tortured face of the Pixel 3 XL. Unlike other large notches like on the iPhone, which has not only the front-facing camera but all of the Face ID tech, here we've got something a little different. Two front-facing cameras as well as the front-firing speaker. Now the speaker does sound good, but it just sounds like it's a little bit of a, I don't know, is it really worth this huge notch? Maybe they could have just moved some things up or made it not quite so deep. And don't get me started on the chin. It's just not symmetrical. I mean, I don't mind having a little bit of a chin, but not good looking. And it still is a great phone, but as far as I'm concerned, I would much rather use the standard Pixel 3, which doesn't have a notch, but it also doesn't look ugly and unsymmetrical. And it's also a normal human-sized phone, unlike
Not broken.
something that's gone up this year is price. So where the Pixel 2 last year was $650, the Pixel 3 now this year starts at $800. Now it's not quite as big of a difference when it comes to the XL models. Last year it was $850 and this year it's $900, but regardless, this is definitely a more expensive phone this year. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it actually isn't totally unreasonable. This is definitely a year where $1,000 flagships have become the norm, so $800 to $900 is kind of not that bad. What I really want to see is a comparison between the iPhone XR and the standard Pixel 3. Now this is a smaller phone and it's about $50 more expensive, but they have similar aluminum builds with a glass back, a single great camera on the back of it, as well as what should be pretty decent screens. If only we could do a comparison test of these two phones when the other one comes out soon. Hint, hint, wink, wink, subscribe for the full video coming soon. Whether it's the smaller Pixel 3 or the larger Pixel 3 XL, as well as a pair of sunglasses so you don't have to look at the chin and the notch all day, I think it's pretty clear that the Pixels are worth it this year if you're looking for a very high-end flagship. Not only are these some of the best phones of 2018, but probably some of the best phones of 2019 as well.
Sunglasses.
Yeah, so you don't have to look at the chin and the notch.
That's not how seeing works.
Just squint, it's fine. What's the problem? Just look, I can't see anything besides my glorious screen. That notch is just not even there. It's blinded.